Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome again to the Stoner Report. I'm Marius Stoner here at Cannabis Culture Headquarters, the VCMP Vapor Lounge, here at 307 West Hastings in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. So I'm going to read the news today, and then I have some special guests on afterwards who are going to talk about the recent Owen Smith case. He won the case 2-1. And it is now legal for anyone who has medicinal cannabis to carry extracts or baked goods or topical salves or anything. So yeah, that's a big victory, and it comes on the heels of Marc Emery's release, so we're really super happy here. And so after the news, I'm going to have some people who were at the court case. Owen Smith didn't want to come on camera. He just wants to be private, I guess. So, but I do have some people that were there and are going to talk about it, and so I will talk to them in about 20 minutes to half an hour. Okay. So it's been a pretty exciting week in the news with Marc and everything. And I just got to get this organized here. Yeah, sorry I'm starting so late. I had some major problems with my computer. Some weird software stuff. But I finally managed to fix it, and here I am. All right. As Marc returns to Canada, U.S. scientists still face obstacles researching medical marijuana. After serving a 5-year prison sentence for selling marijuana seeds to U.S. customers, Vancouver's Marc Emery is expected to cross the border back into Canada on Tuesday, August 12th. His wife Jody will be flying to Windsor on Monday, August 11th, and will be waiting for him on the following day in the plaza outside Windsor City Hall. "I'm definitely excited. A little stunned almost," Jody told the Georgia Strait by phone. "It's kind of surreal." She and her husband expect that he'll be escorted by U.S. Marshals to the border between Detroit and Windsor. This will occur after he's flown, possibly in chains, to the Motor City from Louisiana, where he's still in custody. Of course, this all happened. This was on Monday. Jody said that she's basing the details of the upcoming release on what a former cellmate of Emery said. He's a Canadian who is held by the U.S. on drug charge. When he came escorted back in chains before being instructed to walk across the border. "That's why we picked Windsor City Hall," she said. "It's about half a block away." She had hoped to bring Marc some clothing to wear before realizing that all of his garments were at least 8 or 9 years old. Supporters light up as Vancouver's Prince of Pot returns to Canada after U.S. sentence. Canada's Prince of Pot has come home to a raucous welcome from supporters in Windsor, Ontario, after serving his U.S. sentence for selling marijuana seeds to customers across the border. Marc Emery crossed back into Canada from Detroit this afternoon, and his wife Jody Emery was among the crowd awaiting his arrival. She says she and her husband are lucky that he is coming home a free man and can immediately resume their activism to legalize marijuana. Dozens of supporters were lighting up joints and smoking pot with vaporizers as they waited for Emery outside Windsor City Hall. Emery, 56, was extradited to Seattle in May 2010, and he pleaded guilty to selling marijuana seeds from Canada to American customers. When Emery first arrested almost a decade ago, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration heralded his sentence as a significant blow to the legalization movement. BC Court says restrictions on medical marijuana are unconstitutional. BC's highest court has ruled there is a constitutional right to tasty pot cookies and other marijuana products such as infused oils, balms, and lotions. In a 2-1 judgment, the Provincial Court of Appeal said the country's medical marijuana legislation is unconstitutional because it restricts patients to possessing only the dried plant and to consuming it via smoking. The top bench suspended its ruling to give Ottawa a year to amend the law to allow patients access to edibles and derivatives. such as creams, salves, brownies, cakes, cookies, and chocolate bars. In my opinion, decisions concerning how one manages serious health problems go to the core of what it means to live with dignity, independence, and autonomy as contemplated in Supreme Court of Canada cases like Morgan, Taylor, Parker, and Adams, wrote Justice Nicole Garson, supported by colleague Riza Levine. Where the state interferes with an individual's capacity to make decisions concerning the management of those health problems by threat of criminal sanction, the state is depriving that individual of the power to make fundamental personal choices in the liberty interest is engaged. That's not the right picture. There we go. Colorado's marijuana black market is more complicated than it looks. Depending on whom you ask, Colorado's marijuana black market has either vanished or expanded since weed was legalized in the state. Mexican pot farmers have anecdotally said they're taking a beating, but one legal Colorado drug dealer told the Washington Post that his business was growing. So which is it? Turns out that it's a tough question to answer. A comprehensive market analysis released by the Colorado Department of Revenue's Marijuana Enforcement Division in July looked at supply and demand in the state's marijuana market, but the report did not offer granular detail about the supply side. So the Huffington Post spoke exclusively with Adam Orens, one of the lead researchers on the analysis, who broke down the supply side numbers, including the current best guess on the side of the black market. The report released last month is likely the world's first post-legalization study of a marijuana marketplace. It was prepared by the Marijuana Policy Group, a collaborative effort of BBC Research and Consulting, Oren's employer, and the University of Colorado Boulder Business Research Division. Renter finds federal aid, marijuana don't mix. Elderly resident loses subsidized apartment. Smoking cannabis? Not a good idea while living in federally subsidized housing, even if the drug has been prescribed by a doctor. Some residents are finding out the hard way that there is a glaring discrepancy between Colorado's liberal marijuana laws and the federal government's outright ban on the substance. Lee Oliver, an 87-year-old low-income resident living in Dolores, is the latest casualty. She has lived there for 5 years, but says she has been ordered to vacate her rent-subsidized apartment on Central Avenue for allegedly violating the illegal substances policy. A compliance officer said they smelled pot coming from my residence, she says. I don't think it was even me. I've used it before to ease arthritis pain. Olivier, who lives alone, is now faced with finding alternative housing, but is concerned she cannot afford it on her fixed Social Security income. I'll live in a tent or my car if I have to, she said. I've got 10 days to move, but when I get knocked down, I get back up. Are marijuana tourists flocking to Washington and Colorado? Are more tourists headed to Washington and Colorado to enjoy legal toke? The answer is hazy. Seattle on Friday will host its annual Hempfest, a Potapalooza weekend known to attract 250,000 people. Yet city officials say legal weed in Washington has yet to lure sightseers across the state borders. In the Mile High City, some 30,000 people crammed an open-air expo during 420 weekend to sample strains vying for the 2014 Cannabis Cup. But Denver officials maintain there's no proof that legal pot in Colorado is enticing visitors from other states. To the civic hawking pros charged with charming far-flung consumers enjoy the best of Washington and Colorado, marijuana tourism remains a myth. Duly noted. But according to experts at travel websites that track the habits of American vacationers, The two states where voters approved recreational pot each have witnessed an uptick in curious journeyers since those laws were enacted. We've seen that searches for both destinations have spiked dramatically, said Tyler Cole, who handles public relations for Hotels.com North America. Human-sized rat cages target teen marijuana use. Who will be their guinea pigs? That's the question a new ad campaign aimed at discouraging teen marijuana use is asking. Created by the state of Colorado and the city of Denver, the anti-pot campaign unveiled several 9-foot-tall human-sized rat cages on Monday that bear a simple message. Because so much is still unknown about pot's effects on kids' brains, teens who smoke it become unwitting research subjects. The $2 million Don't Be a Lab Rat campaign was funded by legal settlements with pharmaceutical companies. It will also feature TV commercials starting Monday that suggest marijuana impairs mental function in teens still developing brains and could cause long-term mental problems. I think whoever designed that campaign has long-term mental problems. If anybody's using anybody as guinea pigs, it's the pharmaceutical companies using everybody as guinea pigs, and they don't say dick about that. So, I mean, marijuana has been used for thousands and thousands of years, and I'm sure a few teens have used it during that time too. So what's the experiment? Come on, give it up. Tennessee drug test welfare applicants discovers less than 1% use drugs. In July, Tennessee begins a drug testing program for applicants to the state's welfare program. Since then, just one person has tested positive out of more than 800. Applicants have to answer 3 questions about drug use to get benefits, and if they answer yes to any of them, they get referred to urine testing. If the result is positive, they have to complete a treatment plan and then take another test. If the second comes back positive, they get cut off from benefits for 6 months. Those who refuse to take a drug test in the first place can't get benefits. In the month since it began, 6 people submitted to a drug test, and just one tested positive out of 812 people who applied. 4 were turned down for benefits because they refused to participate in drug screening. That means a positive rate of 0.12% for those who took part in the screening. That compares to the 8% of states' residents generally who use illegal drugs. Despite stereotypes that poor people who need welfare assistance use drugs at a higher rate, other states have had similar results. In Utah, just 12 people tested positive in a year of drug testing applicants. In Florida, 2% of applicants failed the tests in 2011, but the state has 8% rate of illegal drug use. I mean, clue in, it's hard to buy drugs when you're poor. Drugs are expensive. I mean, shit. NFL reaching critical point on marijuana. Marijuana is casting an ever-thickening haze across NFL locker rooms, and it's not simply because there's more players are using it. More than 2/3 of Canadians want marijuana laws softened, though a majority still against legalization, according to a poll. As attributes towards the drug soften, and science slowly teases out marijuana's possible benefits for concussions and other injuries, the NFL is reaching a critical point in navigating its tenuous relationship with what is recognized as the analgesic of choice for many of its players. It's not, let's go smoke a joint. Retired NFL defensive lineman Marvin Washington said, it's, what if you could take something that helps you heal faster from a concussion, that prevents your equilibrium from being off for 2 weeks and your eyesight from being off for 4 weeks. So it looks like somebody in football has some brains. And cannabis-based batteries could change the way we store energy. This one's exciting. Scientists are using industrial hemp for futuristic supercapacitor batteries. On top of its vast medicinal benefits and high that's safer and mellower than alcohol, what if cannabis could also power a cheap, sustainable super battery and forever change the energy game? It sounds like a far-fetched dream cooked up by Cheech and Chong after a bong rip or three, but it's possible, according to a team of researchers at the University of Alberta. During the American Chemical Society's national meeting in San Francisco on Tuesday, engineering professor David Mitlin, who now works at Clarkson University in New York, presented the findings. The story he led investigates the potential for industrial hemp, the non-psychoactive cannabis plant closely related to marijuana, to aid the creation of extremely efficient batteries called supercapacitors, or supercaps. By heating hemp fibers, the researchers were able to rearrange the plant's carbon atoms to create thin two-dimensional sheets, or nanosheets. Those nanosheets are then used as electrodes in the supercaps. Prior research into supercaps broke ground using graphene rather than hemp to create the nanosheets with unmatched results for energy storage. Since then, scientists have been looking for ways to use graphene's unique properties to build better solar cells, water filtration systems, and touchscreen technology, as well as batteries and supercapacitors. The problem is, it's expensive, ACS reported in a press release. The recent hemp study shows hemp to be more efficient than graphene, and 1,000 times cheaper, since hemp is fast-reaching and relatively easy to process. Our device's electrochemical performance is on par with or better than graphene-based devices, Mitlin said in the ACS press release. The key advantage is that our electrodes are made from bio-waste using a simple process and therefore much cheaper than graphene. Okay, so that's the news for this week. Thanks for watching. I'm going to set the camera up and I'm going to have my friends come over and we're going to talk about the Owen Smith case. Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, that's what people watch it for. Of course. One sec.
Okay, on 3, you girls are removing your tops, right?
Nice one, yeah. They tried that the other day, and the only one that did it was Fran. What?
Well, no, they removed their tops. The friend was the only one without her bra.
Yeah. We removed our tops too.
Yeah, I saw that. I was filming it. Okay. So why don't you introduce yourselves and tell me how you're attached to Owen Smith first. And we'll just make sure.
Well, I'm Karli Thiessen, and I have known Owen for the last 8 or 9 years. I am on the board of directors with the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club, but previous to that, I was on the board of directors for Hempology 101, which is Ted Smith's hempology class, and that's how I met Owen.
Nice. Okay. Do you want to pass the mic to?
Hi, I'm Anne Genovy, and I've known Owen for about 10 years, and I worked at the club, Ted's Club, with Owen for a couple of years.
And I'm Cori Petersen. I was just there for moral support online, helping get the word out about what happened. Been an activist for quite a few years and really care about the subject, and just brought the extracts here to prove it's legal. Yay!
Yay! Well, legal for medicinal users. We still have a way to go. We can't. Yeah. Sadly, no recreational legality yet. Okay. Well, can you tell us what happened initially? Like, how did this case start?
Initially, Owen was baking at the bakery for the club, for the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club. And the police came in and arrested him for trafficking THC for making cookies. And that's where the trial began. And it began quite a few years ago. And it's taken a while for them to sort of reach any sort of decision. So this decision that they've reached is quite remarkable.
And basically, he was on trial because he was selling baked goods, correct?
That's right. Yeah, he was baking cookies for the club. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was illegal.
And that was illegal. Yeah, and now so the court decision now has made it so that medical patients can now make cookies and use extracts as they see fit.
That's fantastic. Is this ruling Canada-wide, or is it only British Columbia?
Right now it's only British Columbia.
Okay. But is there a chance for it to become Canada-wide if other people...
There is a chance. Hopefully we'll see that happen soon. That's what we're hoping for.
Wow. Yeah. So how long ago did Owen get arrested?
I should have looked that up, and I'm sorry I didn't.
Okay,
but
so it's been a couple of years.
It has been. This has
appeal,
been
right?
this has been over years.
Okay. And what did you expect to happen when you walked into the courtroom the other day?
Well, when we were in the courtroom, literally the judge said 2 words after the decision was read, and the decision. All he said was that this was the case regarding Smith versus Regina, and 2 words after that, which nobody really caught. It was sort of like very fast on to the next thing. So we left the courtroom, and there was filled with reporters, and it was there was activists there as well as myself and Anne, and there was Neil there, and we all were sort of confused, going, well, what was the decision? So we went over to one of the reporters went over to the Court of Appeals and got the actual decision that was on the paper, and they came back and they had us all stand around, and they said to us, okay, well, we're going to read the decision for you. And so that's why when they read the decision, I don't know if you have all seen it, but it was on CBC News last night. And literally, like, I broke down, because the reason that I do this is because I love patients. I'm a patient myself. Medical marijuana has changed my life as well as my family's life. And because of this decision, it's made it so that any patient can do what they want. And not everybody wants to smoke it. Like, come on, people.
Yeah,
That's not what people's main decisions are. In fact, most of the people that I know ingest most of their cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's the safest way to do it.
Exactly. And it's also cost effective that way. You don't go through I mean, I was going through at least a quarter ounce a day, just smoking it, until I realized that this was not the way to go. Until I got to the Cannabis Buyers Club, and they educated me and made me realize what it's actually beneficial for yourself,
Excellent. So, do you want to talk about it as well?
Yes, I'll talk. This is a very historic case, in my opinion, that we made history in Canada here, because I believe nowhere else in the world that extracts are legal to smoke. I don't believe it's happened anywhere in the world. And yes, Karli's right. It is Washington. Okay.
Yeah, because they have recreational stuff now.
Okay.
So, and they're also allowed stuff in Washington as well. So, like cookies and
I'm
whatnot,
busy with
but not medical. It's a
you
different.
get them mixed up sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many states, and
For myself, I'm a medical patient as well. For me, cannabis oil and extracts are a better form and healthier form for me, and more long-lasting than smoking weed. I get along more effective, and the cannabinoids stay longer in your system when you eat it. It kind of, to me, it spreads out more in the body, and it's much healthier. And I'm really, really thankful that we have this, because it's going to save a lot of lives. It's going to help a lot of people, especially in the poor countries that want it, especially Africa. And I'm really, really thankful. Thanks.
Yeah.
Right on.
I just really want to thank Owen Smith for being the inspiration behind this all. Now, Owen, you haven't seen Owen very much on camera, but I just want to say that that's Owen. That is the way Owen is. Owen is not going to change for anyone. He is who he is, and we love him for that. And we wouldn't have this decision today if it wasn't for him. So thank you very much.
That's what he does,
Right on.
and very faithful individual.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. There's Owen there on the right there. Just have a little picture of him.
So I'm just starting, a class on cannabis and really learning how to, like you said, utilize it in the most medicinal fashion instead of just smoking my brains out. That's not really doing the cannabis plant justice. And then when you really dive into how it affects your body and how it medicinally heals you, it's pretty interesting. Just the notion of apoptosis. If you've never heard that word, you should look it up. It's pretty interesting. And the fact that cannabis does that, and it, whether you've ever used it or not, you have receptors in your body to utilize it. And it's in every single, it's in a lot of plants and a lot of animals, the endocannabinoid system. So it's pretty amazing that it supplies such medicinal properties. And I'm glad that we're able to utilize it in so many different ways,
I think to me, there is no difference between recreational and medical because we're all healing in our own way, in some way. So the herb is used for everything. I don't think we should label it. It's a herb. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the very notion that a person can look at a natural thing, point it out, and say, hey, you're illegal. Everything to do with you, your seeds, all this stuff, you're just illegal. You can't be. It's like someone pointing at a baby and saying, sorry you were born, but you're illegal,
Yeah.
Like,
or the color of somebody's skin or their religion. Or the color of somebody's skin or their religion.
Yes, exactly.
It's basically the same thing.
Yes.
And using pot is basically a preventative medicine. It's the most advanced plant on the planet. We evolved side by side with it. We have an endocannabinoid system, which the cannabinoids mimic. So we were meant to be with cannabis. Definitely, it's a part of us. And there's some doctors, or at least one, who said that people that don't smoke marijuana are cannabinoid deficient.
Yes.
Actually, that's
it's
been
proven,
proven.
so there you go.
It's been proven in scientific recently, I think, in the last couple of weeks about that we do have a deficiency. You can actually get tested for that now. And it's very interesting. It makes a lot of logical medical sense.
Yeah, so remember, get tested and make sure you don't have cannabis deficiency syndrome.
No, but it actually doesn't exist.
I know, it sounds funny, but it's the truth.
I really wanted to be, I was fearful of being an outlaw for wanting to use either this in a cookie or topical for my joints. There's also a tonic that I help bottle. So there's a lot of different facets that I sitting there chewing my fingers going, because I do live here, you know?
Yeah. Well, all of us who have, we're pushing the boundaries of the laws, like technically even discussing legalizing marijuana is illegal. Having marijuana literature is illegal. Definitely baking with it, smoking it. If you're not a legal patient with Health Canada, if you've got a doctor's note, we still allow it in Vancouver, but that's still illegal. So it's just up to people like Owen and people like you and people like us to just keep breaking the law and pushing forward civil disobedience. That's the only way for democratic society to evolve.
It's also time for patients' needs to come first. Like I'm with Anne where it should be legal regardless, but come on, people. Like when you're trying to say that, oh well, you should take this pill for that and this pill for this. Enough is enough. Like it's a medicine and it can heal everything from babies to old people, and it's safe for the whole spectrum. So get your heads out of your asses and let's make a difference. Like seriously.
Absolutely.
Educate.
Well, we're on the right direction. We're on the right path forward. So.
Well, I don't want to get in trouble, but I'm sitting here with an American permission slip, right? And I'm here saying, oh, well, the NAFTA agreement protects me to get my prescriptions up here. But that is a very flimsy thing, and I would have to back that up with a whole lot of work. So, I'm not inviting that, but that's when I sit here with this, that's the risk that I take.
Yeah. We all have to take our chances.
I don't know. I don't feel like I'm taking a risk. I think it's my right. I think it's my choice, what I would like to put into my body. Why should the system tell me how to live? Are we supposed to be in a free democratic country? I think, I believe that this program, the medical marijuana, was a way of controlling and analyzing. Analyzing, I got the wrong word, I can't think of it. Analyzing and assessing what's going on in the world with cannabis. Because I think the government just wants to control it. It's always, cannabis has always come down to a money issue, not a human issue.
I agree.
All right. Well, unless you have anything else to add, I'm going to call it a show.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, Neil wanted
Neil
to
wanted to talk? Okay, we'll wait a couple of minutes for Neil to come down.
So everybody come down for Marc Emery's rally on Sunday. It's going to be
that's right.
awesome. Everybody in the community is going to be down there to welcome him home. So I'll be there. I'll show up.
Sensible BC will be having a table over there as well to gather additional volunteers, maybe signatures, because I figure most of the people down there probably will have signed their thing by now. But if you haven't volunteered, come on down and volunteer at the Sensible BC table. And I heard rumor there might be food. I don't know, but that's for Neil to tell you. Yeah, it's going to be great. Just a nice gathering of people to welcome Marc back.
And I also want to say, as we get closer to the election time, I think prohibition is going to really be at its height. And you're going to see a lot of propaganda in the news. You're going to see a lot of strange articles coming up. Read them out and focus. Okay, here's Neil.
Okay, here's Neil.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show, guys. That was awesome.
Thanks, Anne.
Okay, I'm just going to fix the camera a little bit.
People at home thought they were going to get another gratuitous butt shot there for a minute, but you disappointed them. Hi, Marius.
Yeah, no. How's it going, Neil?
Oh, it's going really well. That's quite a historic
Right.
ruling yesterday. That should change things a lot again.
Especially, yeah, in Vancouver, yeah.
Well, no, and you asked about whether or not it's Canada-wide. Well, this is a BC ruling, and there was one dissenting judge. So that means that it can be appealed. So I don't think it will be, but that's just me, right? I mean, I don't think it's in the best interest of the federal government to get their wrists slapped again in court.
No,
they're
but
not going to win it, despite the dissenting judge, because it's just wrong to try and to tell free people in a democracy with public servants that they can't take this natural herb and use it in whatever way helps them. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, what public servants do we elect here that get to tell us we can't use something that helps us? What's going on here? Why is this happening?
And that we can smoke it, but no, there's no other way. We have to use the
even
most
that
harmful
was
way.
forced on us, or forced on the federal government by the courts.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, our federal government is not working for us on the subject of marijuana.
No.
They don't care about the people. They're not trying to protect us from a dangerous substance. They are protecting their corporate buddies and the gangs that want to sell this product. That's who they're protecting. They're not protecting Canadians.
Oh, absolutely.
So really good to see the courts, stand on the side of what's right for once, because they've actually they should be about right and wrong, but it turns out that's not what the courts are really all about. They're about, did you break the rules or not?
Yes.
But in this case, they're siding on the side of what's right. So, so that's just awesome, and I'm sure Marc Emery is going to be happy to hear that, and that'll give him a little boost in talking about things too, And on that note, that's mostly why I'm here today. Is I wanted to say we're having a big party, welcome home, Marc, right at the park across the street in Victory Square on Sunday, starting at noon. There's going to be free weed, lots of free weed. Lots of free food and lots of freedom all over the place. We'll pack as much freedom into Sunday as we can and carry it on from there. So come on down, tell your friends, roll up some spliffs and share them with everybody at the park. And let's welcome Marc home.
Yeah, Marc's going to arrive at around noon. Do you know?
It's hard to say. The
but
dynamics of something like that are difficult to really peg, right? So.
But he's definitely going to be there.
He's going to be there.
Yeah,
he's going to be there probably shortly after noon, and if not, we'll keep everybody happy and entertained, medicated and educated in the meantime, and we'll be ready for him when he arrives. So.
All right, that's fantastic. I'm so looking forward to seeing him again, too.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's been gone a long time. The world has changed a lot, but we're looking forward to him coming and helping us out with this fight that he started before he left, and now he just gets to come back and join it in progress, you know, with 50 new dispensaries at least in Vancouver opening up.
Oh, yeah, it's going to blow his mind.
I'm very anxious and excited to see what he's going to want to do in this climate.
I'd wish I'd been there when he took his first toke after 5 years.
I got to see it, you know, I got to see him emerge from the tunnel, and I got to see him hug and kiss Jody for the first time. And that's when it kind of felt real to me too, that he actually is going to be here, and he did get out, and it's over as far as that phase of it goes. And now we can enter into this new phase of what we're going to do here, you know, with another very interesting
we're going to get the Liberals elected. You know, I was going to say that all these constitutional challenges wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for Pierre Trudeau and the
charter.
The charter of rights and freedoms.
You know, in the preamble to the charter, they talk about the principles of fundamental justice and how that helped shape the charter. It says there, Trudeau says there in the preamble, that Canadians take for granted these principles of fundamental justice, and that's why they wanted to entrench them into this document. You know, and in Section 7A, it talks about our right to be free from government interference based on those principles, and that means that unless we're harming somebody else, it's really not in the government's purview to interfere with us.
Absolutely.
So that has yet to really be you know, teased out of this and made into the way that we live, because we still have the prohibition on cannabis for everyone that doesn't have a medical exemption, and that is just anti principles of fundamental justice,
right?
You know, where you're supposed to have been innocent till proven guilty, but once in that court of law, if they prove with evidence that you did damage, then they place that you know, on a set of scales, you know, held by the blindfolded older woman. And so that damage, whatever that weighs, they're then to give you a penalty that balances the scales.
Right.
But here we are with people getting penalties for having possession of marijuana where there's no victim, there's no damage, nothing's proven that way in court. So, you know, how do you get a penalty for not intentionally causing harm to somebody? It shouldn't be happening. And that's why we're breaking these laws. That's why we're pushing the envelope. Because good people need to stand up and break these bad laws.
That's true.
Yeah. And if it doesn't happen, they don't change. Because these laws are in the interests of some very powerful people.
That's right.
And they'll just keep them going if we don't stand up against them and find a way to change them. So Rosa Parks, you know, God bless her, you know, had the courage to stand up and move to the front of the bus. And we're all doing the same thing based on her inspiration and on her courage. Is we're stepping out of the stigma that they've placed on us as stupid, lazy stoners, or you know, it started with being violent maniacs and then stupid stoners, and we're stepping out of that stigma, and we're standing up and saying, no, we're good, wholesome Canadian citizens of this planet, and we're using this herb because it makes more sense than using pharmaceuticals with all the side effects, or alcohol, or tobacco, or these other things. It's a very smart choice. I loved what you said earlier about people being deficient in cannabinoids. Of course, cannabis is a supplement. That's why we have receptor sites for it. That's why it works for all those different things. And for our public servants to say that you can't use this for killing pain or even for pleasure, they're way over the line of what public servants are supposed to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. They're far behind the times as far as I'm concerned for what a democracy should know. I mean, we're so educated about it. And yet, you know, we have to fight for every inch.
We do.
It seems. So we got to keep fighting.
You know, it's it has to sort of be this way, I guess, because there are these huge forces with large amounts of leverage and money and networking, and they want their interests protected. So they're always going to keep trying to do that if they can. The role of our public servants is to make sure that they can't do that by exploiting people, by having monopolies on things, by doing, you know, criminal things to their competition. And so this is the battle that we're in. But, you know, freedom is so important. It's really so much more important than I think anybody really realizes. That this experiment in freedom that we have going on here in a democracy with public servants is very unique in the whole history of humankind. Almost always there's a chief or a pharaoh or a king or somebody that's in charge and able to dictate morality to people. And it's always screwed up when that happens. That individual's morality always gets screwed up in every one of those cases. So here we have a new experiment where there's no one dictator, tyrant, king, pharaoh, or anyone who can dictate morality to the masses. The masses are the masters. And the only thing wrong with our democracy is that we allow 51% of the masses to dictate morality to the other 49%, and that needs to stop as well. That's where we need to realize that freedom is important, and it's an individual freedom. It's not freedom for the 51% to say that we like this and the other 49% can't do it because we like this and we don't like that. It's that every individual's right to be free gets to be protected in this democracy.
Yeah. So, well, our government is still somewhat archaic in the fact, and so many people don't go out and vote because they are, they have lost faith in the government.
Of course.
So we have a lot of work to do on that front as well. I believe that we should get rid of the British North America Act and have another system of governance, something more.
We need some more founding fathers,
but one step at a time,
and say, individual freedom is key, and the role of government has to be limited to not interfere with that individual freedom. That people in government need to be accountable, so we need to wipe that part out of what we got going here, where they're not accountable anymore. Because like those scales of justice, if a public servant signs into law something that's protecting some corporate group's interest at the expense of the rest of us, well, that's a heinous crime. The amount of damage that would weigh down that one side of the set of scales is huge.
And like when marijuana does become legal, and it will one day, who's going to pay for all this damage? Who's going to pay for all the people? No, I mean, who's going to pay for all the people that have been in jail for 20 years? Who's going to give them restitution? Well, nobody's going to give them restitution. Who's going to punish the people that caused these laws in the first place and fought against them and fought against human health? Nobody's going to suffer for them.
They are heinous
so we have to let this go and just move on anyway, because we're not really going to get
public
justice.
Servants that have been heinous criminals, we're prepared to let it go. So you let it go, and maybe you won't get strung up by your short and curlies for the rest of what.
I mean, you got to live with your crimes for the rest of your life.
You do.
You do. And I'm sorry about that. So stop now.
Yeah. And I think that because things are so now moved from where they were even a decade ago with respect to the medical uses of cannabis, the science behind that, and our understanding of what freedom is and what we're supposed to have here as individual free people, we have moved so far from that in this last decade that it's time to suspend the drug war until we really can figure out what's right and wrong in this case. Maybe you don't have to end it tomorrow, but suspend it tomorrow. Stop arresting people. Stop interfering with nonviolent people's lives. And we'll go from there and see if we're going to release the prisoners and purge the records and the rest of that. But let's suspend this now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a supervised injection site. We've got clinical trials using heroin and all of that going on. Well, Anne, but what you're pointing out is what we're all trying to say here. This is crazy. This is insane. It's upside down. It's backwards. It's wrong.
And it would be funny if it wasn't doing so much harm.
Really, because just look at police resources, for example.
What a waste.
We've got some serious situations in our society. That's why we have those people. But every time a cop drives down the block, thankfully not in Vancouver, but in all the rest of Canada, every time a cop drives down the street and he sees somebody breathing smoke out, he's got to stop and check and see, what are they smoking? Are you smoking the stuff that kills 5.4 million people every 12 months on this planet? Because if you are, you're good to go. But if you're smoking that other stuff that would threaten the bottom line of pharmaceutical companies and give people an open mind with respect to what's right and wrong, well, you're going to jail for that,
Yeah.
So, and every time that happens, there's something serious going on that cop could have intervened with had he kept on going down the street,
Exactly.
So that's a waste of police resources, a waste of our tax dollars, and it's a real problem for those people who are being interfered with by the police, who end up with criminal records, and then their families ruined, their jobs lost, all of that stuff that happens.
And then there's the legal time, there's the jail time, there's the judge's time.
The stigma.
All that stuff that could have been focused on real crimes.
That's right.
So.
And the stigma, because of all of these lies, first telling people that it made you violent and insane, and then it makes you some stone, stupid loser. They need to get over that and recognize that most of the professionals in our world are using cannabis, that it's a focusing tool, that if it's used properly, and most people are trying to use it properly, it helps people in their lives. So that's a big stigma we're going to have to get over, and it's going to take a while for that as well. But, we're working on it.
All right. Well, so far so good. We got.
Thank you, Marius. I wanted to say that. Thank you very much for what you're doing, taking your life and dedicating to this cause. And anybody who does that will be rewarded and enriched by it. It's a great way to spend your time. Let's throw some wrenches in the gears of these people that want to take away our freedom and monopolize their products and exploit us for it. So, thank you again.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I've always felt that in order for me to be truly happy, everybody else has got to be happy. Otherwise, I'm going to feel some other. Nice. Some sort of a karma from them being happy. So I just want to make sure everybody is free and happy so I can relax and be free and happy. It's a little bit selfish, but...
No, it's not. It's not. It's nobody's free until we're all free.
Exactly.
If they're coming after us for using this herb to make us feel better, whether it be for pain or for pleasure, they could come after you for whatever you like, for pain or for pain
That's
relief
right.
or pleasure.
That's right.
So
they came really first for the Jews, and I wasn't a Jew, so I didn't speak up. That's the way it is.
We all have to speak up for everybody's right to be whoever they are and do whatever they want to do unless they're harming somebody else.
Correct.
If they're harming somebody else, then let's all intervene on that and speak up and say something about that.
Which is what we're doing to the government.
So. Exactly. Thanks. Freedom.
Okay, well... I forgot my...
and I'll thank you all very much, and we'll see you on Sunday. Come on out and welcome Mark home.
You bet. Thanks so much, Neil.
Hello, Marius.
Hey, how are you, Lauren?
It's the first time I've been on your show.
Yeah, you're on my show.
I'm on your show. Very briefly.
I forgot my weed at home, and Lauren said, "Oh, I'll roll a joint and smoke it with you."
Took me a while, but...
Well, that's okay. I was busy doing the show until now. So... Perfect timing. How do you feel about Mark coming back? You haven't even met him yet.
I haven't even met him yet. No, it's actually pretty exciting for me. A lot of the staff here hasn't met him yet, but it's going to be... I actually only heard his voice for the first time the other day when we hooked up his meet and greet in Toronto there. That's the first time I've ever heard his voice, because every time we played Prince of Pot and stuff like that, it doesn't have the volume on. So I didn't want to watch anything until I got to meet him. I was like, oh, he's my boss. I guess I kind of want to meet him in person before I see a bunch of videos about him. It's kind of surreal a little bit. I don't want to make him a celebrity in my mind before I meet him as my boss. A little intimidating. But.
Well, he is something else. He does have a definite presence. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure everybody will like him, and he'll like everybody.
With him.
So yeah,
jam
that's
nights.
right. Jam nights Tuesday nights here at 8 at the BCMP Vapor Lounge. So okay, well that's it for the show. Thanks, Lauren, for coming on and sharing your joint. Don't forget, cannabis is the most advanced plant on the planet, and we're going to use it to save ourselves and save the world. So until next week, I'm Marius Stoner for Cannabis Culture News. Take care and see you then.